guys, welcome to this interview. We're super lucky to invite Kimberly and Nick Tan. You guys will know these guys from the Savvy IMG, doing some awesome work for IMGs. And hopefully we're going to try and dig into their brains, get their stories, understand a bit about what makes them tick and how they're helping thousands and thousands of you guys across the world. So welcome, Kimberly. Welcome, Nicholas. Thank you for taking your time out and coming to this with us.
Yeah, thank you very much for inviting us as well. We're honored to have being interviewed by yourself.
It's my pleasure. I've been wanting this for a long time. So we met when? Probably about a year ago.
Yeah.
I wasn't expecting to meet you, but I knew about it. Like I'd seen your stuff before, and I knew about the Savvy IMG, and it was really nice just to meet you face to face. And we haven't met since then, but it seems like I know you guys because I see you on all the stuff on social media all the time. So it feels like I've known you for a lot longer than we have.
Yeah, I think on social media you feel like you get to know people quite well.
Yeah, and we definitely feel the same as well. We always see your face around and we say,
on the videos
that's
and things like that. Yeah.
We put a bit too much out, I think, at times, but it's good. It's good when people are connected, and it's good that it feels like we know.
Yeah, definitely.
You guys are doing amazing things, and the first thing I kind of wanted to look at and get people to know is the background, really, the story about you guys and about your medical training, how you got into the UK, and then a bit about the Savvy IMG. So let's just start with your backgrounds. Like, where do you guys train? How did you end up in the UK? What's the story?
Yeah.
So we actually both grew up outside of the Philippines. So I was born in the UK, and then my family moved to the Philippines when I was 13.
Yeah, and then I was born in Taiwan. I grew up there till I was 13 as well, and then that's when we moved to the Philippines.
Yeah.
But it wasn't until med school when we actually met each other.
Oh wow!
And,
Yeah.
Yeah, and
that was our first conversation. Oh, we both moved to the Philippines at the age of 13. Okay.
Yeah. Like, one day we're going to set up a website together. What do you think? Was that your first?
Yeah, who knew? Like how many years down the line would you set up a website in America?
So you said med school you guys met, okay, and then so you did med school in the Philippines.
Yeah.
Then was the plan always to come to the UK? Like, was that something that developed over time, or was it something that you knew from the beginning?
Our first choice was actually to go to the US. So even though I'm from the UK, Philippines is very heavily influenced by US culture. So I kind of was leaning towards that myself. But then it turned out it was going to be extremely expensive, that we couldn't actually afford it. And also the chances of getting in as a non-US citizen or an IMG were very small. And so we started looking for other options. And then that's when we thought about coming to the UK, coming back home, and convincing Nick to come with me.
Yeah, so for me, I was really fixed on the idea of doing medicine in an English-speaking country, even before going into medicine.
Yeah.
And my number one choice was, again, the States as well, because of how heavily influenced the Philippines is by that. And then met Kim, and had this opportunity of coming to the UK, because my initial thoughts were the States, Singapore, or Australia. For some reason, I just never thought of the UK before.
Yeah, it's not very popular choice in the Philippines.
It's
not well known.
Yeah, it's not that well known in the Philippines.
Okay.
But, our relationship grew pretty serious, and then we started thinking and planning the future together. And we thought, okay, maybe UK is the best place for us to come and train.
You not look back. Because some people I know, when they're abroad, they kind of hedge their bets a little bit and they start preparing for different exams, maybe Australian exams, US exams, UK exams, and then they kind of finally make a call. But did you do any of the other exams or start the process for anywhere else? Or was it once you decided UK, it was UK all the way?
Yeah, it was UK all the way. So, I mean, we do recommend that everyone has a backup plan, but I don't usually recommend working on multiple plans at the same time. Because if you're preparing for completely different exams, your focus will just be very split, and then your likelihood of success in any one of those plans is going to be a lot less. So we focused completely on the UK when we decided, and then if that didn't work out later, we would think about other things, but that was our first choice.
Yeah, because I remember funding back then was an issue. So we only really have enough funds to focus on one. So rather than, doing USMLE review course, PLAB review course, Australian exam review course, we're like, okay, we're just all in on UK. If that doesn't work out a few months, few years down the line, then we would secure more funds to do something else. But back then it was just, okay, all fundings towards UK, highest chance of probability.
And I think that's a really important thing people take away, because focus is key to anything, isn't it? And you can use so much energy if you're not focused on something that you scatter your mind, and you know, people, for example, say to us, I'm doing ANC, can I use your PLAB stuff for that? Or I'm planning for USMLE, which is your point for that? It's, well, look, they're not really made for that, and it's worth trying to find something specifically for that. So I think that's a really, really good point. Focus, understand, do your research, look everywhere, and then, but once you make your call, and put, you know, 110% into it, because it is hard to juggle lots of different places in one go.
Absolutely.
Yeah, really, it's about preparing early and knowing your options. Yeah, so like for PLAB, you can't really use that for the other exams, like you said. But once you obtain GMC registration, then you can potentially convert that into the AMC. So it's about knowing these options early enough, and planning accordingly. Yeah, and having focus.
And one query that often comes my way is, I'm from XYZ country, should I do USMLE or PLAB? Like, that's, you must get this question quite a lot.
Yes.
You ever say, which is the best one to do? How do you guys answer that? Like, what do you, I mean, how do you give advice when that kind of question comes your way?
I mean, generally we ask them, where do you see yourself practicing in the long term? Because these are just exams, but this is a pathway to a career, a longer term career. So beyond the exam, where do you see yourself? Where do you want to put your efforts? Because, you know, the exams are not in isolation. You know, this is your opportunity. So we ask them about, you know, to do reflection, think about the pros and cons. But that's how we advise on that question.
Yeah, it's really about having the ultimate goal as to what do you really want to achieve, and then going from there. Because if you don't have the answer to that, you won't be focused. You'll be scattered, and you might waste time.
To take a little bit longer, do your research, but then kind of have your goal in terms of, this is my 20-30 year goal. I can see myself practicing. I can see myself being there in 30 years, still doing the job that I love. Rather than, well, let's just pass the exam and see what happens. Because
exactly.
It's better to have that longer term thought.
Or let's go to the UK, Australia, whatever it is, because that's easier than this place. Like that reason, for example, you'll get there and then you'll come against barriers, then you'll fall back because the passion wasn't there, the drive wasn't there, the vision wasn't there in the first place. So I think it's great that you knew it was the UK and you put everything towards it. But so the first exams you would have taken, I guess, back home in the Philippines would have been the English language stuff, I guess.
Yes.
Yeah. So even though I'm British, I'm not exempt from an English language test.
Right, because you train. Yeah. Okay. So because a lot of people struggle with that, and I get a lot of questions about, you know, OET, IELTS. You know, how do you prepare? What's the best way? I failed 3-4 times. I don't know what to do. What do you guys do when people come to you and say, I'm struggling with, you know, IELTS versus OET, I'm struggling?
I think, to be honest, initially the advice we were giving was probably incorrect, because we said, you know, you can self-study and you can pass the exam. It's not that difficult. But, you know, we later recognized that, you know, Nick grew up in an international school in Taiwan. I grew up in the UK. So for us, English was our first language. And yes, it was a simple exam. But then we realized, you know, that's not the case for a lot of IMGs. English is not their first language. And it would be advisable to do a course in order to prepare. And even though medical school was taught in English, that doesn't mean that you are prepared for an exam in English. So we do recommend now that they look into, you know, do a self-assessment. You know, do you use English language on a daily basis? If not, then you probably do need some help. And then to look for preparation materials to help you pass the first time, because as you said, people do fail multiple times on the English exam.
So it varies from individual to individual. What is important is that you assess yourself, be completely honest with yourself whether or not you need a course, and then take it from there. If you do need a course, do one. If you think you can pass it without a course, then go with a free material. But you know yourself best, so you have to be completely honest with yourself.
And even people who are now working in the UK and they're on training programs, some of them turn back and say, look, the hardest step of my journey was this step number one. Like, I really struggled with it. Everything else I found okay. I passed PLAB, I got into GP training, but I remember those IELTS and OET days, and, you know, I thought that was the end of the road. And it must be disheartening when you've got this career vision and you think, I want to be a consultant radiologist in the UK in 20 years, and you can't get through step one. So preparation, you know, as you guys always is key. But the step back, it's knowing the exam, isn't it? And one thing we always say with assessments is, you can go in and do all the work you want, 100 hours, 200 hours, but if you haven't understood what they're actually being looked at from the side,
that's exactly
into a ton of
Yeah, that's what we say to people. You know, when you have to work hard, but you really need to work smart as well. Putting your effort into the wrong areas will not get you further in your plan. So it's really important to know what's important.
Yeah, and it's also important to know that if you really force your way through things, you can pick up bad habits down the line, which can take even more time to sort of undo and eradicate. Yeah. So
So what did you do? IELTS then? Was OET around when you did it? What did you do?
No, it was just the IELTS. So we did academic IELTS. Yeah.
So you both completed IELTS in the Philippines itself, and then you moved on to PLAB 1.
Yes.
And did you do the PLAB 1 in the Philippines?
No, so we did it in the UK. So we did PLAB 1 and PLAB 2 here.
Is Philippines one of the places that you can do PLAB 1?
No.
Even now, it's still not. Okay. So most people in the Philippines will come to the UK to do the exam.
Yeah, some come here and some go to like Australia or South Africa.
Yeah. So did you travel in, literally do the exam and then travel out, or had you planned a longer trip? Like, what was the story with PLAB 1 then? How did you get through that model?
So we graduated around July in 2013, and then I took PLAB first, I think in September that year, and then Nick needed to get a visitor visa, so he took the next sitting, I think in November, and then we did PLAB 2 I took a break for Christmas, and then I did, I think, PLAB 2 in February of 2014, and then Nick did it, I think, in March. Or was it April?
It was after Kim did it.
Okay.
But for PLAB 1 and 2, we both did review courses.
Yeah. Were you here for the whole duration of that time, PLAB 1 to PLAB 2, or did you do some people just come in, do the exam, go back?
For me, because my family is here, I was here the whole time. And then Nick had to get a visitor visa.
Do PLAB 1, go back, and then come back for PLAB 2 academy and the exam itself. And
that's so tough. And you know, people who do that, I really respect, because you know, getting a visa is hard enough to have to sort out in your mind, as well as preparing for an exam as well. Like it must be tough for people to do that, and you know, especially if they do this kind of hop in, do an exam, hop back out again. Like, it's not like going around the corner and sitting an exam and going home. This is a huge investment in your time, energy, obviously money, and you know, the people who do it, I salute to them. And you guys help out. People come to you, I'm sure, with those kind of queries as well, visa stuff, immigration stuff. What's the best? How do you answer those kind of questions? Because that's a unique area in itself.
Yeah, I think we were quite fortunate, because in Nick's case, the visa application was quite straightforward. But we know that from a lot of our readers that they can be applying for visas multiple times and they get denied multiple times just to come for the exam. So it's not our area of expertise, because we didn't have any difficulties with it. But I think one of the biggest problems that we see is usually the financial aspect.
So try not, if you can, try to exceed the minimum requirement per month that they set by a lot. But other than that, I don't know, we can't really give too much advice on it, because we're not the experts on the area. What we usually do is tell them to look at the official guidelines, ask on the Facebook groups as to what the experiences of other IMGs are. And maybe hopefully in the future we can collaborate with experts on the area. We can come up with blogs on that to help readers. But that's something we're currently working on, and it's going to take time.
And you got to find the right people.
Definitely finding the right people and getting advice from them is what's.
I think you mentioned a great point there. The world of social media has made questions so much easier to find, answers easier to find even. But also, there's a lot of probably incorrect advice out there on social media as well.
Yes.
Dangerous for people sometimes looking at stuff, and that's why having a trusted source like you guys is so vital, because there's lots of people who suddenly know a lot about visas who are giving advice that may not be right for the individual person.
And
hugely advantageous, but challenging as well, I suppose.
Yeah, what we always tell our readers as well is if you get advice from somebody else, it may seem very easy to just go with their advice because, you know, they're senior, they're a consultant, they've done it before.
Yeah.
But always take those advice with a grain of salt because, you know, things changes so quickly. And even though they do give those advice at the, you know, at them willing to help you, them wanting to help you, sometimes not knowingly that they would give outdated advice already. So what we always say on the Savvy IMG is always double check yourself on official guidelines, not just on blogs and such, on official guidelines. Yeah, to see if that advice still stands at the day, because things change so quickly. It takes months for some things to change. Like for example, the IHS changed so quickly.
Yeah. I think that's a great point. And when people come to me with advice that I don't know the answer of, I say two things. Look, number one, just like you've asked me, you can ask 100 other people, and they'll all give you their opinion. But that doesn't mean that opinion is right. So number one, go to the right person. So you want to be asking the one person that can give you the right answer. Even if it takes a little bit longer, even if it's difficult to get it, it's a little effort to get it. You know, opinions are just opinions. It doesn't mean anything.
Yeah.
The right, and then number two, get the right. Don't just get on the phone to somebody, get some advice verbally. You know, get a follow-up email with saying the right thing, so that if anyone questions later on, you've got it written down. And because there's so much opinion out there, and there's so much, well, as you said, this is my senior, let me get some advice, and it may have been right for them at that point, but it's hard to pin your whole career decision based on that. So I think what your advice is absolutely spot on. So PLAB 2, how do you find PLAB 2? Well, how do you find PLAB 1 actually? Do you find it an okay exam? Was it struggle with PLAB 1?
I thought it was all right. I was fresh out of med school, I think. So I think that was a big factor. I think that obviously the longer your gap between graduation and taking the exam, the more difficult it will become. And also probably the more senior you are in your career in a specific specialty, the more difficult the exam is because it's very general. So I think because we were new graduates and we took it quite soon after graduation, we didn't find it too difficult. But the course was helpful to get us used to like the common conditions in the UK, the terminology used in the UK, and that kind of thing.
That's the thing that I was going to point out. The terminology is very different because you just have to know what the terminology is commonly used in the UK. And
because I said the Philippines is more influenced by US culture, so our medical school is more in sort of American English, American guidelines, and things like that.
Yeah, and the way that the questions are structured as well. I found, well, I mainly grew up on the American English system. I found that a lot of the questions have double negatives, which can sometimes be very confusing. Well, that's for me. I don't know. Kim didn't find that confusing at all, but I could imagine other people struggling with that. So getting used to that, going through a bunch of question banks, knowing the structure of the question and grammar really will help a lot. It's more on the English grammar for me rather than the clinical side of it. It was challenging.
And MCQ technique is
just making sure you finish on time, answer all the questions.
And you know, people have lots of methods of doing MCQ, but until you know what technique works for you, you don't go and lose 20 marks just because of technique. It doesn't mean you don't know your stuff, just because it's not spot on. And therefore, sometimes when it comes to stuff like PLAB 1, yes, do those and those questions, but back your knowledge up as well. You can't, you know, don't just rely on doing 1,000 questions and hope that you're going to and with all MCQs, that's key, isn't it? Questions are good to problem solve, and you've got to keep doing it, but you've got to back up that knowledge and fill the gaps as well. And that's where is so important. And looking at the blueprint, EMZ, and making sure that you've ticked up every box there is key, I guess.
One thing I forgot to mention is we also go through the Oxford Handbook Foundation, what do you call that, the little book? When we were studying PLAB, so we kind of know, like you said, the basis of it, rather than just memorizing questions and answers to those questions. We actually know how it's done, nice guidelines, that kind of thing.
And the UK guidelines is really important, isn't it? As you different areas, different protocols, different ways of tradition in terms of how you handle certain things. But PLAB is now you've got to go back and understand the UK guidelines, because you're not going to start using American Canadian guidelines, whatever it might be. You might be medicine, but it doesn't mean you're PLAB 1. And that goes back to understanding what is being looked at from you in the first place, and going back to the basics and looking at curriculums and blueprints. So you flew through PLAB 1, which is good. And then how did you find PLAB 2? Because you guys went to academies by the sounds of it.
We did do, yeah. We did the academy, I think it was like a 2-week course, and then we did multiple mock exams, and then we did the PLAB 2 exam in Manchester.
What year would have this been?
2014.
2014.
Yeah, I think it was 2014.
Yeah.
So 6 years ago.
I know, 6 years ago.
Yeah,
there's been so, but there's, you know, when people ask us for recommendations for PLAB 2, we just say, you know, so many things have come out since we did the exam, and you know, it's hard for us to recommend things now because there's probably lots of things that are even better than what we had available to us at the time. So we always tell them, you know, just go and look and try and objectively assess them rather than just getting reviews. You know, which ones cover the skills that you need, which ones offer online, can you do it from your country so you don't have to come to the UK just for the academy, which Nick had to do.
Yeah, mock exams are really important.
Even back when you guys did it, I guess the only option was to come to the UK, do an academy, and then do your exam. There's no doing it from back home, I guess.
Yeah, I don't think there were, because we definitely did search it. I don't know if it just didn't come out because we didn't know the search terms back then, but yeah,
it was all in person.
Yeah, it was all in person PLAB academies that we knew of.
Whereas now, of course, PLAB academies travel, don't they? Like, well, obviously.
Yes. Some of them do them overseas.
Yeah.
And online stuff.
Yeah, a lot of online stuff and audiobooks as well. So.
So certainly, I think at this point in time, COVID has pushed so much in terms of medical education, and people are. It was all like online, virtual, audio. All this was coming. It's just, as you guys know, with medicine, things come a little bit later than with other areas in life. But I think COVID has just pushed it further, quicker, and people are getting used to the fact that actually we can do a lot from home.
Yeah.
More that you have to literally spend thousands to attend a place. Obviously, there are benefits of doing face-to-face stuff, and that's never going to go. And you know, that's still an important part of it. But there are other options, which people are now forced to be happy with. Whereas before, it's like, well, I might do an online one, but I'm missing out. Whereas now, there's lots more acceptance of these things.
People are more open to it,
isn't it? It's change the way people prepare for things.
Yeah, absolutely.
So do you remember your day in the exam? Just to remember it vividly, I guess you did.
Yeah, I think, pretty much. I think I did mine. I think I was one of the first batches of the day, so it was very early. Obviously, I was very nervous, but I mean, I felt like I'd prepared enough. I think we were preparing for about 5 to 6 weeks. I feel like beyond 6 weeks, you're going to just, it's too much.
Yeah, it varies for individuals. But
yeah, I feel like after 6 weeks, I would have felt really fed up and my performance probably would have dropped after that.
Just want to get over it kind of thing.
And you're right, people often say, how long do I need to prepare for PLAB 1? How long do I need to prepare for NSRA? You know, you see people who prepare for 12 months for an exam and fail, and people who prepare for a month and breeze through. So as we were talking before we started, it's definitely not quantity of hours that you do, it's the quality of preparation and what is needed of you, and do you work around that. And that's kind of how we train for stuff. We don't just sit there and give, you know, hours and hours and hours and hours of material. What is needed, and then how can you edit your technique to get the most out of 4 days rather than 4 weeks of revision that still ends up with the wrong answer or saying the wrong thing in a role play, for example. So it's great, and it sounds like you were fine with PLAB 1 and 2, which is really, really good, because a lot of people do struggle. And I'm sure you get people who come to you and say, look, I'm on my 3rd, 4th attempt. What do I do? And you must get those kind of stories, right?
Yes, we do get those stories. And with PLAB, I think you can only attempt 4 times, is it?
It's 4 times, and then you have to show that you've worked, and then you can take the last 5th attempt, and then that's it.
The case is that final one, isn't it, I guess? And it's a lot of pressure. You know, people don't underestimate the amount of pressure that it is to do these exams, and then not, you know, even failing it the first time, it's the
devastating
hit that you get as a not just a clinician, but as, you know, a human being as well, is take a lot out of people. And sometimes when people get through a second time, they come back in a few years and say, look, I'm really glad I got through the second time, because that first time taught me so much. Although at the time it's very difficult, but You guys must get people in really difficult situations, financially, emotionally, confidence-wise. How do you tackle that? What do you advise when people come to you at what must be pretty low points of their career?
Yeah, I mean, I really feel for them. It's you've got this dream, and then you've got this huge barrier in the way. And we ask them about what preparation they've done already, to see if there's anything that could be added to it. So if they haven't done a course, or if they've done a type of course which may have been an inefficient way of preparing for the exam, then we tell them to look at other options. Mm-hmm. Or were there specific skills that they need help with, not the whole thing, but just like specific things. Mm-hmm. Then they can look for preparation just for those things, so they can be more efficient in the way that they prepare for the exam. But it's really tough because anything we say, it's, at the end of the day, they still need to go out and do it, and you can just only keep your fingers crossed or pray for them.
Yeah, absolutely. And it is tough. And have you seen people end their career because of PLAB? And switch to something else, switch to another country, switch to a new plan?
I mean, we have had emails from people who have exhausted all their attempts. Mm-hmm. And unfortunately, I'm not sure there is another way to get GMC registration if you've exhausted all your PLAB attempts. Even if you pass MRCP or MRCS, those failed PLAB attempts are still going to be on your GMC record. Mm. So for them, I unfortunately don't have much to advise in how to get GMC registration. Mm-hmm. I just really...
Because at the end of the day, all we can really go with is what's available on official guidelines, and we can't change that. We can only advise in accordance to it.
Absolutely. So you must have seen people, I guess, who then end their UK dream and go to a different country or restart again with US or wherever it might be.
And sometimes we think, we ask them what their other interests are in medicine, because a clinical career is not the only way to contribute in the medical field. So, sometimes it can be an opportunity to do something different. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's really tough. These are some of the hardest conversations that I have, and the hardest queries that I have, when people have exhausted every option, not just for PLAB, but whether it's in GP training or whatever it might be. Mm-hmm. And two things come to mind that you mentioned already. Number one, having that career vision, because when you fail an exam like PLAB once, twice, 3 times, what's going to get you up again? It's going to be that vision that, okay, well, this is a blip. It's a long career ahead of me. This is a small blip, and I want to get back on my mistakes, and I want to pass. Whereas if you haven't got that dream and that vision, then maybe failing twice is enough to put you off. So having that vision is key, and it goes back to, okay, why am I failing 3 times? Am I actually going back and understanding what I did wrong, or not what I did wrong even, but what am I supposed to be doing, and then am I adapting it, or am I just going and doing more hard work? Yeah, ultimately the same thing again, and why would a result be different if what you're doing is the same? And breaking that cycle is sometimes really challenging. But the people who have the dream and the vision and the goal that, look, I want to be an orthopedic surgeon, they'll probably have it in them to then look back and reflect and make changes. Whereas if the dream was only to pass PLAB, it's probably not going to be as much that they're going to go into that depth of reflection as to what went
wrong. So having that vision is really important. Not only that, it also, by having this vision, you can also sort of come up with plans. So you can actually plan for, okay, I'm going to be taking IELTS, OET, PLAB now. I'm going to actually allocate time and budget as to, if ever, which can happen, if ever I fail, So when it does happen to you, you're going to sort of have that mental resilience already available because you've reflected on it previously, and you will have the time and funds available for it as well. So this having this vision and planning early, having a backup plan really increases the probability of you achieving your goal. Because of all the reflection.
Absolutely. But it sounds like you guys were fine. So you didn't see any of this challenge, which is in a way difficult for you then to help others, because it's hard to come from a space where you haven't been yourself, I guess. But you can only advise to be honest and open.
We did plan. We did allocate funds for, if we pass IELTS, if we fail IELTS the first time, or if we fail PLAB for up to, I think, 2 times we've allocated funds and time for that.
Yeah, so like
but
failure was
yeah.
there at the back of our minds.
Yeah, we did think of it, but then we knew that we have to be laser focused. If it happens, it happens. We kind of had the mental resilience not to let it get us down. But fortunately for us, we did pass.
Yeah,
the first time round. Yeah, but we were ready for in case we failed. Yeah. So having that mental resilience really is the key.
Yeah, that's great, and it's super that you guys flew through. And just talking to you, you can tell your planners, and you're not someone that's going to give it. Like you can't build a website and do so much without that kind of planning. So you can see that from what you do on a day-to-day basis. But then what about after PLAB? So what was it? Because you're ophthalmology, isn't it? And that was your training for me. And where are you in training now? Whereabouts are you to?
So I've just I'll be finishing ST3 when I go back because I missed out a lot of training.
ST3. Okay, so was it always ophthalmology for you?
I actually only decided on ophthalmology like towards the end of med school, and maybe even during my PLAB journey. And then after PLAB, I started in the UK Foundation program, and I was still kind of balancing what I wanted to do because I knew applications were still like 18 months ahead.
Yeah.
But when I told my colleagues that I was interested in ophthalmology, I got a lot of like discouragement because they said, "Oh, it's really competitive. You didn't study here, so you probably won't get a job." And then I was like, "No, I'm going to do it now."
People are probably rolling their eyes in their head and saying, "Oh, this lady wants to do ophthalmology, IMG."
Yeah.
I had a lot of doubts, but that kind of fueled her really into having to, prove people wrong. And
And sometimes, let's be honest, sometimes you need that. You need that.
Yeah, it actually helped.
I think it did help. Yeah, everyone was like, you should have you should think about other specialties, apply to other specialties just in case you don't get in, or be prepared to move to faraway places just to get a job. But I was like, no, I'm going to get in London.
And you crushed it. Like you must have planned it and worked incredibly hard, but you crushed it. You got London, and that was what you wanted, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was, because my family is here, so I didn't really want to move too far away.
So it did involve a lot of planning. So we kind of have been following how ophthalmology applications work 2 years prior to the application itself. We knew that every year there's going to be a slight change. So what you did was more than what's actually required of you. Just in case a new eligibility requirement is out.
And also, I did kind of have a backup plan. So I had plans on what I would do if I didn't get in the first time. Because most of the people that I met who were trainees got in on their second attempt or third. So I knew I had to have a plan in case I didn't get in, because that was a real possibility. But I didn't apply for any other specialties. I just kept that as my plan A. And I just went for it.
Another thing that I'd like to point out, it's actually the networking part of it. I would say is very important. Reaching out to consultants, getting them to review your what you've been doing, your CV, that kind of thing. Getting those invaluable advices from them really just helped a lot. Because I don't know, but when she started approaching these seniors, very keen
I was really surprised. I mean, the more competitive the specialty you want to get into, the more you have to put yourself out there. So I just went on the Moorfields website and I just cold emailed almost all the consultants, like, this is my CV, I'd love to help out on a project, where do you think I could fit in? And I got a lot of them emailing me back. We actually met, they gave me some advice. And they introduced me to a lot of their trainees, and I got to speak to their trainees. So I think you just got to put yourself out there.
But obviously you should have done the groundwork prior.
I mean, I did as much research as I could before, so when I'm asking them questions, it's not the basics. It's
they can see that you have prepared a lot, and
the deep.
You see, people will look at you and think, "Oh, wow, you're so lucky. You got into ophthalmology in London. Like, they're so lucky." But no one is ever going to see no one's going to ever see the stuff that you did to get that opportunity in the first place. So it's common numbers. Like, you put two people apply for the same role, one who's put 2 years into planning it in the first place, and one who's just decided a week ago. But one doesn't get it. Like, that person is so lucky. And it's luck is a part of everything in life, right? But the planning is 99%. So credit to you for doing that, because that and it sounds like you really worked through it and you got your dream, which is amazing.
Yeah.
And Nick, what about yourself? Oh, what you gonna say? Nick, what was your journey after PLAB 2? So where did you go after PLAB 2? Did you have an idea where you were going, or did you kind of what was going through your mind at that point?
So initially after PLAB 2, prior to PLABs actually, we were already applying for foundation program because the applications opened before when we did our PLAB.
Yes.
So it was, I think, was it shortly after PLAB 2 when we received that we are getting into foundation?
I think I got my acceptance around PLAB 2 time.
Okay.
I got in lab.
Nick didn't get in because he didn't have right to work in the UK, but that we knew that might happen. So that was kind of our plan A, was for him to get into the foundation program. Plan B was to apply for a LAT F1 post if there were any available, and then plan C was for him to finish his internship in the Philippines and then come to the UK after. Yeah.
So for me, plan B worked out, and then I got a lab job in Wales. So we were kind of hoping to get a lab job together, but it ended up her being in London, me being in Wales. Yeah. So at least I would say at least we're in the same time zone. But we're like 4 hours by train apart.
It's five and a half.
Was it 5 hours? Yeah, it was ridiculous amount of time. Yeah. But yes, starting FY1, I really liked surgery. I was doing my research into doing surgery, putting my CV application, all of that together in FY1, because come F2, 3 months into F2, you would need to apply already for the next year. So so we planned like 15 months in advance. But then during F1 in Wales, I met quite a few locum doctors who sort of drawn me into the locum side, as you would say. And at that time, I think we were planning to get married already. And by the time that I finished F2, I would have right to work in the UK.
Yes.
So the idea of locum was really, so I didn't think of it much back then, but throughout FY1, it was really starting to become really appealing to me, because being apart for a year made me think, I kind of want to secure the future where we can be together in one place. And doing locum work offers that flexibility and security. So after FY2, my plan was to do locum work. I really fell in love with it. I like the whole, being able to choose your shifts, being able to work in different departments, having the option of working in private hospital. So not only the flexible side is good, the sort of financial side is good as well, because you get paid a lot more per hour. You get to receive your money in limited company, that side of things. So which was really quite appealing to us. And at the moment, I still want to keep it flexible. So I'm still continuing my locum job, but probably in the future I would do surgical training if I come back in, but I'll do it as ST3 level at CSER.
So that's your aim. Surgery is your thing, and
I really
not waived from it, even though you've just gone a different route.
I think that's a good thing about the UK is a lot of flexibility in the training pathways. That's something that's just completely different. Like in the US, there is only one way. You pass the USMLEs, you get into residency, and you become an attending. There's just no other like lateral entry or anything like that.
Which is what's beautiful here.
But again, even though these routes might be out there, you have to do the work to understand how it all works. And most people wouldn't know that there are these other options. They just presume you do the jump on the bandwagon thing, which is you do your foundation, you get in special training, you become a consultant, then you're fixed. Whereas actually, as you said, there's so many
things that you can
routes. But it takes time to understand and go through this stuff, and that's why again, what the stuff that you do will help you, because it puts it all in one place, which is what people need, I guess.
I think understanding the options is confusing at first, because you think, I didn't know there were even options, other than just the one way.
Because in the Philippines as well, it's very linear. It's med school, residency, attending. US is the same. Australia, I'm not really too sure, but we did look into it back then, but I think it's kind of linear as well.
No, they also have like non-trained. Well,
you usually enter at the higher. You either enter at the higher level or you start from the very bottom.
But credit to you guys for taking the time to look into it and almost create your own path, basically, which says like, it's working very well. So this kind of leads on to Savvy IMG then, because that's what I would say the majority of people know you guys for. Where did this begin? Like, what was the first blog you put out? When was it? And when did it come out?
So after I did ST2, after I finished ST2 and Nick had done a year of locum, we actually took a career break. Although, you know, training in the UK is very flexible, it's very manageable, I think we had just kind of burned out a little bit. You know, again, like you said, being on that conveyor belt, school, exams, training, it's just non-stop. And we needed a break. So we took a year out, and then that's when we started the Savvy IMG. So during that year, we went to the Philippines, spent more time with family, because that was really important for us. And then we were helping some of our friends. Sorry?
When is roughly on the time scale? When is this roughly?
This was 2018.
Oh, so Savvy IMG has only been around since 2018?
Yeah, November
Since
2018.
November 2018.
Yeah.
So basically 2019. So what you've done all this in basically a year. That is incredible.
Yeah, that's when we started it.
Yeah, I think so.
So the brand that you guys have, you would think that you've been around, you're doing this for 5 years. Like the impact that you've had is, and 18 months is incredible. Okay, so 18 months, what was your first blog? Can you remember?
It was 8 organizations that you encounter in the UK or something like that.
One?
Was that the first
UK
one?
doctor?
Or was it requirements for GMC registration?
Okay.
I think it was that one.
There? Or is it, I guess
still there, yeah.
Heavily.
And we still update those articles.
Edited it heavily over the last 8
Yeah.
So that was your first one. And was it under the name Savvy IMG? Did it begin with that name, or did that come later on?
That was how we started it.
Yeah,
that was it. Yeah.
Savvy IMG.
That picture there is it's still the same picture with just Nick on it.
London 9. Is it London 9 in the background, or the tower?
It's like Tower Bridge, I think.
Yeah, Tower Bridge. We have been meaning to, add both our faces on there.
Yeah.
we just
I
keep
just
pushing
took
it
the
back.
picture. I guess we can ask somebody else. We should bring a tripod.
Yeah.
That's
better at taking pictures, so we just posted mine.
That's the beauty of setting these things up. Like you don't know how big something's going to be, and you just you do it yourself, and you take a photo, and it's just and then it grows, and then you realize the impact you're having and the value of it. It's just incredible. So your plan was always to form this kind of area people can go and find information about getting into the UK, right? That was the plan. That was the vision.
Yeah, we just sort of want to give back to the community.
Yeah, and also because when we took time out and we went back to the Philippines for a little while, we were helping our friends, and then we thought, well, we should put everything in one place that they can visit and share with their friends, and then it kind of went from there.
Because we would be like receiving questions like day to day, the same questions. And I'm thinking to myself, why don't we just write this up, man, and direct people to that website or something?
November 18 is incredible. So, okay, November 18 with blog 1. How many blogs are you up to now? We're in what, August 20. How many blogs have you got now on your page?
Well,
actually don't know the exact
I think it's something like 100, maybe 100.
Yeah. And they're all written by you guys, or have you got external writers?
So we write all the blogs. I think we have one from a doctor from Australia who talks about the Australian pathway if you go through PLAB, because that's something that we get asked about a lot, but we didn't know very much about. So in any area that we're not really an expert, we would like to, invite somebody else to write about it.
But 100 of your own blogs, basically, on that, roughly. And roughly per blog, how much time goes into each from start, writing, editing, putting it on the site, getting it live? How much time per blog do you think
it really depends on the topic. So some of them are quite research heavy. So sometimes we have to do a lot of research. Sometimes we have to contact Health Education England or we have to contact like one of the Royal Colleges to see what make sure that we understand it properly. So in those kinds of articles, it can take sometimes those are in the making for like 1 or 2 weeks, depending how quickly people reply to us, because we don't want to put anything out there that's incorrect.
Yeah, and not only that, once we finish an article, we sort of test it as well as to see how people respond to it, to see how people understand.
Do you send it to a core group of people, or how do you do that testing?
So we just just for our readers, so we see how many questions we get on the article, because see if we're not very clear, and then we have to go back and then edit it and rewrite it to make it clearer for IMGs to understand. Because I think sometimes when we're writing it, maybe it's a bit too complex or things like that. So yeah, we always have to go back and rewrite things. So it does take a long time per article.
And we'll know if it's clear when the number of questions drop. In relation.
That's why you've created so much traction in 18 months, because of that level of detail. Like the amount of blogs, because of social media, everyone can become a blogger overnight. So the amount of blogs you see out there increases day by day, but the number that stick around and get the numbers of views that you guys have are the ones that the effort's gone in, and the checking's gone in, and the research has gone in, and the testing has gone in, and that's why you grow so quick, because of that level of detail, which is amazing. Whereas a lot of people don't do that level. I just put thoughts or opinions out, and that's where again it's never going to track like yours has. So credit to you guys, because that's amazing. 100+ blogs in a year and a half, and you do courses as well. So tell me about the course that you started, how that's been received, how it came about.
Yeah, so we have one course at the moment. It's the IMGs for UK ST1 or CT1 Masterclass. So it's all about helping IMGs understand the process of getting into specialty training and how to maximize their application score so that they can get in on their first attempt. So it's an online course.
Yeah.
We have about 85 or 86 videos. It's about 12.5 hours of course, which is a long time. It took us about 300 or 400 hours to make.
Absolutely, yeah.
So we put a lot of effort into it, and it's a continued effort. So every week we answer questions from our students. We have about 100+ students now.
Yeah.
And we update the course every year as the rules change and things change, so we want to make sure it's up to date. And it started just last year. I think it's only been about a year since we started it.
Yeah, we recently just celebrated our birthday on the month of
July. It was July.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. And again, that's great. And again, to create an online resource is not easy. The tech that goes behind it.
Yes, it's a huge learning curve for us to get used to that.
And but that again, a lot of people have an idea. A lot of people say, "Oh, let's create a course for IMGs." You hear it all the time, but very few can get to the point where A, they've created the content, which is half the job, and then B, actually finding a system, creating the tech, dealing with queries. I can't log in, like all that kind of stuff. I guess I'm sure you've had all this all the time.
Yeah,
and we get it all the time. But is that again that people don't see that stuff? People don't see the stress it causes when someone says, "I can't log in," and you worried the whole website's gone down or something like that. That is stuff that people don't see. So again, you guys, and what's the vision with this? Is there more to come? I guess blogs are going to carry on anyway. Have you got other plans in the pipeline that people should be excited about?
We haven't got a plan yet for more courses, but we actually are being asked about more courses, like people, because our course at the moment is just for ST1, CT1.
Right.
We get asked about applications to ST3 and things like that. But the difficulty is there are so many specialties at ST3 level compared to ST1 or CT1. So we might be able to come up with something a bit more generic that can be applied to any specialty. But we don't have solid plans for that just yet.
And this is where labs potentially can help, isn't it? And hopefully we'll be doing something with you guys at some point. And as you get bigger, there's only so much you can do. There's only so much time you can give up. There's only so much, so many angles that you can go down, and partnering sometimes is the way. But you only get to that point, I guess, where people want you to create new courses. The work that you've done in the back end, which is amazing. So what's the biggest joy you get out of Savvy IMG? What's the best? Because there are some times where to create a website is difficult and it takes a lot of time. But what's the biggest joy that you guys get from it?
When we receive thank you emails.
And when people
they
say that the pathway is clearer for them. They know what they have to do.
They've got a job. They got into specialty training, that kind of thing. It's just really nice.
I'm really excited for the next year, because that's when a lot of our students are applying this year. So I'll be really excited for them to get in. We had a couple of students get in last year to internal medicine training, and I was really happy about that. But we have a lot more students now. So hopefully next year we'll get more good news.
Yeah, we got to help some of our friends as well.
Yeah.
You know, with application, and they did get in. So yeah,
it's great.
It's
the best feeling. It's just like when we were in a course and we have an exam. You can't beat that feeling when they turn around and say, "I passed." Like 3rd attempt pass. It's like weight off my shoulders. Life is good again. Like you can't beat that kind of appreciation. So and that I guess pushes you through the hours of editing and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
That kind of feeling. What about the biggest challenge then? What's the biggest challenge since you set up Savvy IMG? What's the biggest challenge, difficulty that you've had that you've overcome?
I think one of the big things that I struggle with is when I can't answer a question.
Yeah.
Something that I don't know, and I really wish I could help everyone with everything. But it's, you know, you have to accept your limitations and know how to direct them to places where they can get reliable information. And I hope that everything works out for them. Sometimes I even email them back like, how did it work out? Are you okay?
Which is crucial because, you know, we're learning all the time. You're learning all the time. That's a huge challenge. Meeting expectations. The bigger you get, the more you have out there, the more they expect you'll know everything. And you're going to fail out of every situation possible. And I guess knowing that limitation is a challenge. So I can resonate with that challenge completely. Any others? Any other big things that you found?
What about any other challenges that you think?
For me, it's more about sort of getting a concept through in a way that everyone can understand, because there are only so many ways that you can bring a concept forward, and there's so many angles that you can tackle it with. It's finding that 1 or 2 angles that works best for majority of the readers that I would say is the most challenging one for me. And
I guess accepting that you won't be able to cover the 0.5% who need it in a slightly different
So it's just getting the concept
the writing
the writing and all that.
It's good. And there are tough challenges, and people probably underestimate how much of those things are. But what's the commonest query that you guys get? Because you must get emails left, right, and center, Facebook messages, WhatsApp, and center. What's the commonest thing would you say you get, or the commonest 1 or 2 things?
Surprisingly, one of the most common questions we get is there an age limit to come to work in the UK or to get into specialty training? I don't know if you get that a lot as well. Yeah, age limit. So fortunately, to anyone who's wondering if there's an age limit, there is no age limit to work as a doctor in the UK. You can apply to specialty training at any age, and there's no discrimination because it's illegal.
Absolutely. And that's really, people don't understand that concept sometimes, and saying to them, look, you're 35, 40, you've been in a different career, it doesn't matter. I think it's because in a lot of other countries there is quite strict age discrimination in certain specialties. So fortunately here it's not the case. Yeah, we had because we trained for GP entry, so we had someone apply, I think they're age 52, trying to get into GP training. We did one of our courses last year, and you know, that if that's not an example to anybody how age doesn't mean anything. They had a guy to switch to general practice, so they've been a consultant for years. I don't know what specialty, but they turned up, and I was like, so like, are you here for the course? And they're like, yeah, I'm here for the course. I'm like, okay, grab a seat. But I was, surprised, and then told me the story. And it was amazing. We did an AKT course a couple of years ago, and we had an 83-year-old GP attend.
Oh wow!
Oh, 83. They're already a GP. They're already working. And I said to them, like, can I ask what the reason is you're here for this AKT course? This is like part 1 of MRCGP. Well, I just want to improve my knowledge. I just want to come and improve all the time. And that's an example of age means nothing.
Yeah.
That was an amazing story. I remember getting a photo and just being really inspired by him and his story. But yeah, so common question about age. What else? Anything else that comes to mind?
A lot of people ask us if you can survive on a doctor's salary in the UK.
Yeah.
Do you get that too?
What's your response to that generally?
Well, I don't know if there's an impression out there that UK doctors can't survive, but our salary is higher than the national average as long as you're sensible with the way that you spend money and save money. There's no reason you couldn't live a comfortable life here. I mean, we started out on foundation doctor salaries, which is not very much. and we managed to save up a down payment to buy our house within 2 years.
Yeah.
And we didn't, we still went out on dates. We went on holidays as well. So it's just about being smart about the way you use your money. I don't see any reason why you can have a happy, comfortable life on a doctor's salary.
Planning like everything.
Yeah.
So plan like everything, and you guys already seen the masses of that. To be honest, from the way you plan everything, it sounds like you've got it all under control.
Hopefully.
Yeah.
I mean, we do get, we have surprises and hiccups, but I think at least the more that you're aware of, then the less that it will set you back.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's brilliant. And when you came to the UK, because one of the questions we get a lot is, I'm just a bit scared of the whole moving to the UK thing. It seems a bit daunting. What can you remember any fears that you guys had before you came to the UK? Did you have any major fears? And then what's the commonest fear that people come to you with before they come to the UK, apart from the finances?
What was your biggest fear?
I think it's adjusting to the culture, I think, was one of my biggest fears initially. Because I didn't really have much exposure to the UK culture. And it's more of, I didn't really know what to expect.
Just like that fear of the unknown.
Yeah, it's basically just fear of the unknown.
Yeah.
And but when I got here, I mean, there is a transition period, but you give it a few months, you will transition out of it. And
I think everyone's quite, friendly and understanding from our experience. It is difficult to adjust. We hadn't worked as doctors in the Philippines, so our first job as a doctor was in the UK. So it was transitioning from medical student to doctor and into a new system as well. So it was very tough. I do remember breaking down and crying to my SHO at one point. It was like within the first 4 weeks or something of starting. I was just like, all the other F1s, like they know everything, they know how to do everything. And he's like, look, you didn't study here. Obviously it's harder for you, okay? Like, you'll be okay. And I just realized, yeah, I didn't study here. Like, it is harder for me and I shouldn't be too hard on myself. And I think that's what a lot of IMGs fall into, is being really hard on themselves when they start out, comparing themselves to people who've been here, their whole training, or IMGs who have been here for, a number of years. I think you have to accept that in the beginning, you will feel out of place. Your clinical knowledge is good, but your logistical knowledge of how things work in hospital, that's always going to take some work. So accept that there is going to be this adjustment period where, you're going to find your feet. But eventually, I think everyone does get there in the end.
And that's what you talk to other people who potentially are in the same situation as you, and you realize I'm not the only one.
Yeah.
When you're on your own thinking, well, everyone else is amazing, and why am I not coping? Then it just builds, doesn't it? Whereas these days, through social media, through the hundreds of Facebook groups that are out there, you can always find people within your hospital within hours who are there, and you don't even know them, but you find them on Facebook. Oh, I work there as well. Let's get together for a coffee, and then you realize you just build networks. Comfortable and I think that's a great point. Expect that you're going to feel a little bit. It's going to be a difficult challenge. It's not an easy thing to just switch mode like that. But there's light at the end of the tunnel, and use people around you to cushion it, I suppose, a little bit.
Yeah, I think just knowing ahead of time that it's going to be difficult is going to help prepare you mentally as well. I don't know, did I expect? No, I was actually really worried about starting, because I did like shadowing before I started. So all the other F1s came in, I think 3 or 4 days before the start of F1 to shadow. But I contacted my hospital and was like, can I shadow for a month? So I was like really nervous. And even then, when I started, that helped me a lot. But even when I actually started, when it was now me, I was really nervous. But
But I think that I remember my first day as F1, and I trained here, and I've been in med school here, and it's a whole new level. Like, even though I'd been in for the week beforehand and I'd shadowed, the moment you walk in and you're a decision maker now, like that's going to hit anybody, like regardless of where they've come from. So yeah, I can resonate with that at all completely. And Nick, yourself, did you have that as well when you did your first locum shift? Can you remember your very first locum shift walking in?
So I So I had that feeling when I was starting my FY1.
Oh yeah, because that's right. You did
I started FY1 here, and then after that, going into locum was.
We did FY2 as well, so you had 2 years.
Yeah, I had 2 years experience before going to locum, so I was quite confident going into it. Except probably the RMO jobs, where because as FY2 you're SHO level. When you're RMO, I don't know, you're basically like a reg, or you're the buck ends with you really. Yeah, especially overnight, and you don't really have more senior support. Yes. So that was a bit daunting for me initially. But yeah, those were the 2 instances when I did have that feeling of sort of fear of the unknown and that kind of thing.
And I guess people hearing that, because you guys are looked at by a lot of people as experts. You've been through it. You write all these blogs. You know how everything works. That's how people perceive you. So to know that you had those same uncertainties that they have, I think is a really important thing, because they see that, look at you guys, you thrive through it, and you're fine now, right?
Yeah. Oh, but those first few weeks, I mean, I was so, like, the anxiety, sometimes I feel like I'm going to throw up. Like, I'm just so nervous. I can't even get through the day. But, every different personalities work in the NHS, and everyone does make it out and make it through. So I think, everyone should feel encouraged that no matter how, like, difficult you think it is, or it is, you still get through it.
Yeah, everyone starts somewhere, right? Yeah. And remember, what you're feeling now, everyone else would have felt it as well. So yeah.
One last question, because I don't want to keep you guys too long. If you had to choose, if Savvy IMG, everything was lost tomorrow from Savvy IMG, everything got wiped, which is the one blog that you think should be out there that's the most valuable one for everybody else? The one, in your eyes, the most important one blog that if you only had one, it has to be this one?
I would probably say the how specialty training residency works in the UK. What do you think?
I actually think it's the one about career options, because there we kind of emphasize having a goal before you start on your journey.
Yeah.
Because I think a lot of people do dive into the requirements for GMC registration, how training works and things like that. And we always say, determine your goal first. That will help you decide what your pathway is, what your requirements are going to be. Kind of, it all starts from there.
That vision that you were mentioning earlier.
Yeah, and I think that a lot of people skip that. They kind of dive into it, and then later, after they've got their GMC registration, it's like, what comes next?
Yeah, rather than thinking of it as a hurdle that you need to get through, think of further down the line, what can you do while doing PLAB, which will increase your chances of perhaps getting a first job or getting to special training. Because there is a lot of downtime in PLAB. Waiting for the results is anxiety inducing. It's what I remember.
Few weeks, 4, 6 weeks.
I don't know why they can't just release it the day after everything is computerized. But in that 6 weeks, there's really a lot that you can do to further improve your CV, further improve your portfolio to get into specialty training, and that's what people need to capitalize on, I think. And that's what the message we are trying to get through to at the Savvy IMG as well, is to have that goal.
I think that point is really important. Like, yes, that one blog may well be the most important if it gives somebody the understanding to see the bigger picture. Because there's lots of detail out there. The detail can be taken care of. But if you don't understand that point, that actually this is not just a series of 5 hurdles, it's actually a pathway for you to see where you're going to be in 30 years. That can change, of course. Visions can change, dreams can change, paths can change. But unless you start with something, the detail is going to seem more important than the longer vision. So I think that's great.
So it's the one article we tried to get everyone to read first, but I think a lot of people skip it because they want to get to the details. But like the things we say on there, do you want to come here to be a consultant or GP? Do you want to just get short-term training and then return home? Or do you want to come here and work without becoming a consultant or GP? Like, those are really the 3 main options.
Yeah. Or if you want to come here and weigh it out, you want to try it a few years, see. And then you can decide afterwards, do you want to stay? Do you want to go back to your home country? As long as you know the options available to you and the things you need to do, you can plan ahead and just won't waste time.
Yeah. Super stuff. I think anyone who watches this is gonna pick up a lot of value, hopefully, from what you guys have said. The advice you've given has been top notch, and it's a shame we didn't get to meet. We had an IMG conference that we planned for June, which obviously got cancelled. We're redoing that again next year, so hopefully we can get you there on that day as well. It'd be super to meet.
This time we'll be bringing our baby.
Absolutely, I know that's great. Last time, did you bring?
Yes, your son.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes, gosh, he's 18 months now, so
wow.
Time flies. Right?
Yeah, that would be amazing to meet you again, because we only really met very briefly, so it'd be good to catch up properly and see you guys again. But keep doing what you're doing, because it is a phenomenal thing, and it's helping thousands and thousands. You probably don't really realize how much impact you're having globally. So keep doing it, because it's not easy, and there are lots of challenges, but credit to you guys for what you've done. And hopefully we can connect again and do something similar, because I'm sure we'll get questions come in from people following this, and hopefully we can get you into another one, maybe more targeted to something later on. But yeah, I think you guys have been amazing. I think you guys.
Yeah, we'd love to work with you more.
Yeah, fantastic. Cool. Thank you so much, guys. And just the website for anybody who hasn't heard of you, although I don't think there are many, but what's the website for people to go and look at, and the Instagram, Facebook? What are your handles? How can they find you?
Yeah, so the website is thesavvyimg.co.uk. So that's 2 V's, THESAVVYIMG.co.uk. If you want to visit us on Facebook, it's facebook.com/thesavvyimg. And then on Instagram, we're not so active at the moment on Instagram, but I'm sure once the baby comes, we will be. It's the Doctor's Tan. That's our handle.
Yeah, and make sure to subscribe to our newsletter as well, where we give you, up-to-date tips depending on your situation.
Yeah.
So that link will be available on our website or just on our website.
Right. Wherever you guys are watching this, if it's on YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, the link to their website will be somewhere on this video, above or below. Have a look at it, and please do check it out, because there's some amazing stuff on there. But thank you so much, guys, for your time. Not going to keep you too much longer, and hopefully we can connect very, very soon going forward.
Thank you for having us. Yes.
Yeah, it's been great talking to you.
Bye.